They say you don't truly know someone until they betray you, and I never thought the woman I built my life with, my wife, would be the one to prove that right. My name is Adrian Cole. On the outside my life looked perfect. I was the successful businessman who had worked his way up. My wife, Natalie, and I had been married for over 20 years. We had built a life people envied, a beautiful home in the suburbs, a thriving business, and a son we were proud of, now away in college chasing his own dreams. To the world we were the picture of success, stability, and love. But what people didn't see was the deception that had been forming just beneath the surface. My wife, Natalie, was the jewel in my life, poised, elegant, and the woman I thought I would grow old with. She has always been beautiful, and this is something you will have to see in person to appreciate. There has always been signs of something going on. It became undeniable once I started paying attention. What I didn't know then was that Natalie had been living a double life. While I was pouring my time and energy into my company, working late nights to ensure we maintained the lifestyle we both enjoyed, she was seeking excitement elsewhere. His name was Ryan. Young, confident, and just reckless enough to appeal to someone who wanted to feel alive again. I didn't see it coming. Why would I? Natalie had always been the grounded one in our relationship, the one who kept our home and family together while I chased success. I trusted her completely, and that trust blinded me to the changes that, in hindsight, were glaringly obvious. I wasn't supposed to be home that night. My business trip was planned for 4 days, but an unexpected cancellation brought me back early, just in time to notice something that didn't sit right. I arrived at our house around 9 p.m., tired but looking forward to surprising Natalie. When I stepped into the quiet living room, the first thing I noticed was the emptiness. Natalie wasn't home. At first, I didn't overthink it. Maybe she had gone out to visit some friends or run errands. It wasn't unusual for her to step out for a bit, and I figured she'd be back soon. So, I settled into my office to catch up on work, assuming she'd walk through the door any minute. But as the hours ticked by and the clock struck midnight, a knot started to form in my stomach. By the time 2 a.m. rolled around, I couldn't focus on anything else. My calls to her phone went unanswered, and I convinced myself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe her battery had died. Maybe she decided to stay with a friend. The next morning, just as I was starting to draft a message asking where she had been, I heard the front door creak open. Natalie walked in like nothing was out of the ordinary. She was dressed casually, her makeup subtly freshened, and she carried herself with an ease that made my concern feel almost ridiculous. "You're back early," she said, startled to see me. Her expression quickly shifted, though, into something too smooth, too controlled. "Yeah, trip got cancelled," I replied, watching her closely. "Where were you last night?" "Oh," she said with a casual laugh, waving her hand dismissively. "I stayed over at Chloe's. We got caught up talking and it got too late to drive home." Her response was too quick, too polished. Chloe, her closest friend, was always her go-to excuse when she needed a story to cover something up. I wanted to press her further, but a part of me hesitated. Was I being paranoid? Or was there something beneath her nonchalant demeanor that I wasn't seeing? Instead of arguing, I decided to let it slide. "All right," I said, my tone neutral. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek and headed upstairs, completely unaware that my doubts were already taking root. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Days passed, and one thing started to stand out: the way she'd keep her phone angled away from me when texting, and her increasing use of her phone when I'm around. They painted a picture I didn't want to see. I needed answers, but I didn't want to accuse her outright. If I was wrong, it could destroy our relationship. So, I decided to hire a private investigator, a professional who could either put my mind at ease or confirm what I feared. The investigator got to work immediately. Over the next month, she followed Natalie's movements with precision, logging every suspicious outing and interaction. At first, there wasn't much to go on. Natalie was careful. But careful doesn't mean flawless. One night while I was out of town, the investigator called me asking to meet. When I got back, she came to my office handing me a file. I opened it slowly, unsure of what to see. Inside were photos that would confirm my fears. There was Natalie, walking into a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city, arm in arm with a man I didn't recognize. They laughed together, their chemistry undeniable. It was undeniable. The woman I had built a life with, the person I trusted the most, was living a lie. I felt anger, betrayal, and heartbreak crash over me all at once. But instead of confronting her immediately over the phone, I took a deep breath and decided to stay calm. If she thought she had the upper hand, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. I got home earlier than usual and waited for her to get home, sitting in the dining table with the evidence laid out in front of me. Photos time-stamped and undeniable. She came through the door like any other evening, humming softly, tossing her bag onto the couch and slipping off her heels. "Natalie," I said, my voice cold and even. She glanced at me with a half-smile. "Hey, you're home early," she said lightly, completely oblivious to what was about to happen. "I am. We need to talk," I replied. Her smile faltered. "What's wrong? Why don't you tell me?" I countered, my voice sharpening. "Tell me what you were doing at a motel while I was out of town." For a brief moment, I saw panic flash across her eyes. But she recovered quickly while forcing a fake laugh. I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice shaky. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I picked up one of the photos from the table and held it up for her to see. It was a clear shot, her hand in hand with him walking into the motel. Her fake laugh disappeared, her eyes darting between the photo and me. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling just enough to betray her fear. "What does it look like, Natalie?" I said coldly. "You and him. At the motel. This is what you've been doing when you said you are with friends?" "That's not me," she said quickly, her voice rising in desperation. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "Don't insult me, Natalie. These photos? They're just the tip of the iceberg. I have video too. Are you really going to stand there and lie to my face?" Her face turned pale, and for a moment she just stood there, her mouth opening and closing like she was searching for words that wouldn't come. "This isn't what it looks like," she stammered, backing away a step. "Adrian, I can explain." "Explain?" I cut her off, my voice rising. "You're going to explain what? How you lied to my face. How you walked into a motel with another man while I was working my ass off for us." Her hands trembled as she tried to find the words. I was just meeting a friend. That's all. Do I look stupid to you, Natalie?" I snapped. "I had someone follow you there to get these. You think I am a fool?" Then, like a dam breaking, she started sobbing. I'm so sorry," she choked out. "I didn't mean for it to happen." She shook her head, her hands trembling as she tried to wipe away her tears. "You don't understand, Adrian. You're never here. You're always at work, always too busy." I felt invisible. I was lonely. "Lonely?" I repeated, standing up and towering over her. "Do you have any idea why I work so hard? For you. For us. To make sure you never had to worry about anything. And this is how you repay me?" "I'm sorry," she whispered, barely audible now. "I was wrong. But I still love you, Adrian. Please, we can fix this." I stared at her, feeling a mix of rage and disgust. "Fix this?" I echoed bitterly. "How do you fix something after you've ripped it apart? You don't love me, Natalie, and you don't even respect me. If you did, you wouldn't have done this." She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away. "Adrian, please. I made a mistake. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." "No, Natalie. You'll do nothing. Because from this moment on, you're on your own," I said, my voice like ice. "You wanted to live your life without me? Congratulations. You just got your wish." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in the wreckage of her own making. I didn't look back. The time for second chances was over. The morning after our heated confrontation, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't going to let Natalie's betrayal linger over me like a dark cloud. By the time she woke up, the wheels of my revenge were already in motion. First, I shut down every single joint account we had. I logged into the bank, froze our shared funds, and canceled all her credit cards. No more lavish shopping sprees. No more fine dining on my dime. I even made sure her personal account, which was funded through my monthly deposits, was cut off. By the time she tried to use her card, she would be met with nothing but declined transactions. Her financial world stopped, and I made sure she felt the impact immediately. But I didn't stop there. I contacted my legal team, some of the best attorneys in the business, and gave them everything they needed to make my case airtight. The photos and videos from the motel were undeniable proof. They assured me that Natalie's infidelity would give me the upper hand in the divorce, and I instructed them to craft terms that would leave her with as little as possible. It wasn't just about the money. It was about taking back control. I made sure to keep our son out of the loop. He was away at college, and I didn't want him caught in the crossfire. Besides, I knew if he found out too soon, he might try to talk me out of what I was doing. I couldn't risk that. This was my fight, and I intended to see it through to the end. When Natalie realized what I had done, she was blindsided. At first, she acted like it was all a misunderstanding, calling me cruel and cold-hearted. But as reality sank in, her desperation became evident. I could hear her sobbing in the other room, making frantic phone calls to friends, trying to figure out what to do. She even called our son, hoping he would intervene. I can only imagine her surprise when he didn't take her side. When Caleb heard the full story of what she had done, how she had betrayed me and disrespected our family, he chose to remain neutral. "This is between you and Dad," he told her firmly. "I'm not getting involved." With no financial support and no one to lean on, Natalie was forced to sell off her possessions. Her designer handbags, her expensive jewelry, even the car I bought her, all of it went up for sale. It was heartbreaking in a way, seeing someone who once basked in luxury now scrambling to make ends meet. She moved in with a friend, relying on their charity to get by. As I watched her life crumble, I didn't feel joy, but I didn't feel pity either. She had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. For me, this was just the beginning of reclaiming my life and ensuring that no one would ever take advantage of me again. When Natalie and I separated, I expected her to find comfort with the man she was cheating on me with. What I didn't expect was for her to lean so heavily on Chloe, her so-called best friend. Chloe had been part of our lives for years. During our fallout, she became Natalie's confidant. From what I heard, she offered a shoulder to cry on, reassuring Natalie that she would survive the chaos she created. Chloe even reached out to me once, not to take sides, but to acknowledge the mess Natalie had made of our marriage. I wasn't sure what to make of her then, but over time I would. Our paths crossed again months later at an event. I wasn't planning to stay long, but Chloe approached me with a calm, genuine expression. She asked how I was doing, not out of politeness, but with an undertone that suggested she really cared. "I never understood why she did that to you, Adrian," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You gave her everything." I didn't know why her words struck me the way they did, but they stayed with me. After that, Chloe would occasionally text to check on me. Those casual exchanges turned into longer conversations. For the first time, I felt like someone saw my side of the story, like someone understood the betrayal I'd endured. Eventually, we started meeting up, first for coffee, then for dinner. She didn't shy away from the truth. She admitted that Natalie's actions baffled her too. "You deserved better," she said once, and I realized how much I enjoyed hearing it. Before I knew it, Chloe became more than just Natalie's old friend. She became someone I could trust, someone I could laugh with, and, eventually, things got to a different level. I'll never forget the day Natalie tried to reconcile. She showed up at my office unannounced, looking smaller and more fragile than I remembered. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Adrian," she said, her voice trembling, "please? I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But we've been through so much together. Don't throw it all away." Her words might have moved me once, but now they just felt hollow. I looked her in the eyes, keeping my tone steady and firm. "Natalie, you threw it away the moment you decided I wasn't enough for you. I've moved on, and it's time you did too." I walked past her without looking back. It wasn't just about rejecting her plea, it was about setting a boundary she could never cross again. Looking back, I don't regret my choices. Natalie destroyed our marriage. I know it might seem cruel to some, but in my mind it was justice. Natalie needed to face the consequences of her actions, and I needed to reclaim my life. Some people say revenge doesn't fix anything, but in my case, it brought me peace. And that's all I ever wanted.